Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program, we have an artist who goes by the name of The Bones of J.R. Jones. His actual name is Jonathan Linneberry, and I had a chance to talk to Jonathan about his new album that just came out. It's called Slow Lightning. It's the first album that he's had in 5 years. We dug deep on his music, talked about past shows that he's done, and got into a really good conversation. So we're going to have that in just a little bit here. Before we do, I'm going to unpack a little bit in something that I haven't talked about on the podcast because I don't know that it really has a place on the podcast, but it's really just hitting a nerve now. And it's hit many, many nerves over the past 2 months, really. I'll just be honest because I've kind of had a falling out with my best friend, and haven't talked to him more than once on the phone, and I saw him once in person to record a birthday video for my son with his son. And everything was fine with that from a kid perspective, but we haven't been able to address the root of the issues that have come up. And I don't need to get into all of that now, but I will say right now that I have COVID. And yesterday was my son's birthday party, and I was fine yesterday during the party. Everything was fine. I was in good shape. Didn't have any symptoms or anything. I get home and I'm chilling out and relaxing with the kids, and I start to get a headache in the evening, and I take some Excedrin as I do, and I guess I probably had a little bit of a scratchy throat as well, but nothing too bad other than the headache, and the Excedrin kind of helped. I put an ice pack on and I went to bed a little bit early. And so this morning I felt a little congested, as you could probably hear in my voice. And so I texted my kid's mom. I texted my mom and sister who were going to come over and give my son some birthday gifts this morning to let them know. And then I texted my buddy's wife, who had come with her son, and I know they're very protective over germs and sickness and all of that. And so I was doing the decency of letting her know that I had a headache last night, and that I tested myself this morning, and that I was positive with COVID. And what I got in reply was a wall of text where I was chewed out for not being considerate of them, and fear of missing out with my son's birthday, and how I do this all the time with them, and pretty much calling me a liar, and all these other things. And it was pretty disrespectful. And that they have a vacation coming up this next week, and with another family that they're going to be with for a week. And she started to get a little belligerent in text, and I kind of, lost sight of whatever she was saying. But she got on her high horse about it and how disrespectful I was. And I told my kid's mom this, and she was not stoked about how they're treating us, and namely how I've been treated by my best friend as well, because I've had some stuff I've had to work through to get past a lot of this, and move on, and really I'm in a spot where I've been able to get myself to a spot where I'm moving forward with my life without my best friend of 20 years, which is really a bummer because I really care about him and his family and want them to be a part of my life. But it's not worth my mental illness to be able to do that when my best friend can't even have a conversation about what is troubling him about our friendship. So there's a lot going on there, but I'm just exhausted by it all and ready to kind of move forward with the other friends that I have, and just be grateful for what I have in my life, my friends, my family, everything along those lines. And I'm really kind of disturbed by the fact that I would get chewed out by having COVID and not knowing I had COVID at possibly at my son's birthday party, which is unfortunate. But it's really just a cold. It's cold symptoms. I'm a little congested, a little scratchy throat. That's about it. And I was so disrespected by it, and it's just exhausting. So it's a little bit about what's going on in my life. I did get out for 3 hunts this past week. I think I talked about the opener in the last podcast. which was great. I got a chance to limit on my opening hunt, and then the the next hunt after that, I took my brother out, and we each only shot one teal, but we got to get out, and then I had a third hunt on Wednesday, duck hunt, with where I took my dog Navy out for the first time. I took him out with a took Navy out with a buddy and one of his friends as well. And that I didn't even hit any birds. I didn't really focus on shooting at all. I just wanted to focus on Navy and helping her get the most out of that duck hunt and learn kind of her role. Right, she stayed in her place very well through the hunt. She wasn't super driven to go get the birds, and she's a little small, so it was tough for her to see over the water when she was paddling out to go get them. But we kept it really positive and great, and encouraged her, and had her grab the birds and bring it back to us and kind of build that into her. So I look forward to getting her out again sometime soon. I'm not sure exactly when that'll be, but but it'll happen, and it'll be good. And duck hunting is a great outlet for me to just chill and relax and get out of my head and hang with friends and enjoy the sunrise, which is incredible as the birds come flying in. It's so peaceful, so great. So I love it. So I'm gonna keep this intro a little bit short because yeah, I just need to chill out and relax. But I'm really excited that I had a great chat with the bones of J.R. Jones. So let's go ahead and bring Jonathan in on the podcast. You got
How's
a
it going?
winner. Yes. Good, good. How's your day treating you so far?
Oh, it's good. It's good, just long, tour days. So they're just I kind of spend my day here in the truck, driving around. So we're just got to Charlottesville, about to load in for the show tonight, and now I'm chatting with you. How's your day going?
Not too shabby. It's trucking right along, you know. So, but
Good.
excited to chat with you and kind of hear about
Yeah.
your path and your voyage of music and everything. So, yeah, I mean, since you're in the truck, tell me about how you busy your time. What does that look like for you? What keeps you active on the road?
On the road. Well, I do a lot. As I said, I do a lot of this. We're a small outfit, so it's mainly just me and my pickup truck, and if I'm lucky, I have a drummer with me, either my friend Daniel or Jeremy. Um, but I'm kind of stuck doing all the driving and all the tour managing, so to speak. So my days are kind of jam packed with logistics and administrative work and boring things like that. If I get a moment, I try to find like a decent coffee shop, because that's sort of my one Achilles heel, so to speak. I don't get to see. I love traveling, but when you're on tour, you really don't get to see the cities that you play too much. You get to see the inside of a club, or the the inside of a hotel room. So um, I try to make it a point to try to take a long walk in the morning, and try to find a decent coffee shop. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have that. Do you listen to podcasts, music? What
Yeah.
do you?
It depends. It depends on the day. There's a lot of days that we just kind of sit quietly in the car, which is, I know, seems strange, I suppose, but we're I think a lot of it is sort of a reaction to our livelihood, in the sense that we're in clubs all night, and it's always loud music and a lot of socializing. And so the one time a day that we can kind of just be quiet and alone in our thoughts, or kind of like in the drives. That's not every time, but occasionally. But there's definitely podcasts. I'm a huge fan of Song Exploder. you know um Even that for me is always so interesting to me, because even when it's artists that I'm not particularly you know fond of or care for, I guess I'm always very interested in to hear how their process is, how they break down songs and how they get to where they're going. So that for me is always on heavy rotation, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And for a long time, I mean, you would be solo with your music, but you talk about having a drummer. You know, how often do you get to bring a
Yeah.
drummer out versus playing by yourself?
Well, well, happily, it's kind of getting a little more regularly, or regular, I should say. I've been touring pretty consistently for over a decade, and it hasn't been into the last 2 years that a drummer was kind of introduced into the equation. And so right now it's kind of like 50% with a drummer and 50% without a drummer, just depending on where the gig is, whether they're available, how much, what sort of like the overhead is, and the expenses on getting them there is, just little things like that. Yeah.
But yeah, the logistics of her making sure that they get paid enough to eat too, right? So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like it's like one of my, I hope they feel this way. I should say I try to be very intentional, um, with the gigs I choose with them, because like, we're all working musicians, we're all creatives, we're all, like you said, we're trying to pay our rent, pay our mortgage. We have families. And so like making sure I pay them well is a very high priority for me, because I want them to be able to continue to do this. And so the only downside of that is, unfortunately, sometimes I just can't afford it, but it's a trade-off, because I definitely like the immense talent that I'm fortunate to play with is pretty humbling. So I want to make sure they feel appreciated.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
for you, how do you talk to me about that drive to continue to make music all these years later with those challenges still in existence. I see so many bands give
Yeah,
up and everything.
yeah, I think I guess it's funny. I had a conversation with my wife the other day about this, or some aspect of this, and I think truly I would do this whether I would do it, whether I was getting paid or not. Like I I think anybody that makes art of any sort, it's just kind of what they need to do to express themselves. And getting paid is obviously is what you hope to be, but like it's an outlet for me. I have to do it. I wake up and I have to write music. I have to play music. Um, and so there's that sort of like aspect of it. And the other side of it is, I think the benefit of kind of being a solo act affords me a lot of flexibility. In that one, I'm the only one. I can't kick myself out of the band. I guess, like I can't. It's only my ego that I have to deal with. Um, so like yeah, like I feel for bands that have like a very like democratic system, because there's a lot of inputs, a lot of songwriters and stuff like that, and a lot of them are better off for it, but they can share the burden, so to speak. But yeah, I think it's a trade-off. So I think part of the reason why I can continue to do this is because it's just me. I only have to worry about myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talk about that need to have to write music. Tell me about kind of getting started with writing music. At what age did you start writing, and kind of did you
Oh
kind of
wow.
talk to me about starting to find your voice there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, geez, that's a good question. So in my house growing up, I had two brothers, and my mother was a classically trained pianist, and she was adamant about all of us taking piano lessons starting at 6, and we had to do it for 7 years. We could make a decision to quit if we wanted to when we were 13. And I think like any kind of like angsty child or whatever it might be, like I really fought it for many years, but um I think I really did. It definitely gave me the foundation for an appreciation of music, and definitely wrote. I think there's a video, a little VCR, VHS like video floating around out there. But I mean, I started writing just ditties on the piano and songs, like actual, like, lyrics, verse, chorus, verse, whatever you want to call it, bridge, probably when I was 8 or so, you know? So, um, sorry about that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but,
You're good.
no, yeah. Um, so it was, it was, it was great. Yeah. Like, and I kind of went down that rabbit hole for a little bit, just playing piano and struggling through lessons. I had a tough time with lessons, but I picked up a guitar when I was 13 and just fell into the punk scene, and uh, continued to write songs the whole time. Yeah, the whole time there. So it was great. It was great, and
Yeah.
a lot of the songs were crap. They were ugly and out of tune, and you can't sing. But like that's part of the fun. That's part of the process, and like just making noise with your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was going to be my next question. I know you were in punk bands. Was it high school and like friends bands that you did?
Yeah, yeah. Like definitely we got together in like middle school. My friend John Marino and I. He was just a drummer, and then we kind of had this like little two-piece. I didn't even know what you would call it. It was just a mess, truly a mess. And then when we got to high school, we met a kid named Derek, who was this just rowdy, rowdy, rowdy punk kid who played bass basically. And he joined up, and man, it was so much fun. I just like we rehearsed probably 3 or 4 times a week, and then we I grew up in Syracuse, and there was this place that's still there called the Westcott Community Center, and they would host just like hardcore punk shows, and every weekend, like Kill Your Idols were, I don't know if you used to, I don't know if you ever listened to that old music or not, but like a lot of great bands came through there. Um, that I have a great appreciation for. But we would do it every weekend. It was great.
Yeah. What did you learn from those experiences that kind of you were able to kind of put into your own solo music?
Uh, I think passion. If I was to like break it down to one word, that community, that heart, um, really informed all my performances, I should say, because like like that's a lot of that is a lot of that the basis of that music for me anyways, the way I interpret it is like it's not about playing your instrument well. It's about creating an atmosphere and an environment for everybody to kind of like enjoy the moment, and really really hopefully just being a conduit to that on stage. And yeah, yeah, I mean that's definitely something that's still a touchstone for me.
Yeah. And were there concerts that you went to when you were younger that kind of made you want to be a live performer as well?
Yeah, I mean, like definitely, like all those shows for sure. Like I learned a lot and informed me. But like bigger concerts, I my first show, God, it must have been 1991. Um, like big show. I went to go see Bruce Springsteen at the Carrier Dome, and I mean, I still am, but like especially during that time, I was a huge Springsteen fan, and so yeah, man, that was just incredible to see him up there. Like I was young enough that I think I didn't. I mean, it was a 4-hour show as he does. I pretty much
Yeah,
fell
yeah, pretty
asleep.
much.
I think,
It's
you
well
know,
past your
but
bedtime. Yeah.
yeah, it was. But yeah, I still think about that and how incredible that was for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And do you find yourself like, not that you're trying to reach the level of the boss or anything, but do you find
yeah,
yourself kind
yeah.
of emulating some of the stage, some things you've seen from other performers in live setting?
Yeah. Geez, yeah. I mean, I suppose so. You definitely take notes. I think a lot of it is sort of subconscious a little bit. Like it's all input, right? And I see so many live shows over the course of a year, and like I love watching other musicians kind of harness their craft. And so watching them, you can see what's working for them and like how the crowd responds, and like you're like, okay, you kind of take that in, and you might you know, get enough courage up the next time you get up there to try to sort of like take your own rendition of that and make it your own. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Tell me about going in and creating your first EP. The Wildness was your first EP, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, that was kind of a trip. Um, I really didn't intend on making a record, to tell you the truth. Um, I had recently, I had recently uh, finished grad school and moved back to New York City, and I was kind of doing these sort of like small gigs just for fun, just like whatever. Like I was teaching and bartending, And so I had a pretty full schedule. And then I would like pick up a gig from time to time. And there was this one show that popped up. I remember it was a Wednesday night in the middle of it was like March, and it was 2 hours north of the city in a small town I used to live in called Rosendale. And like driving out of the city on a Wednesday night to do basically what is a free show 2 hours north of the city in a little cafe. I almost canceled the show. I was like it's not going to be worth it, but I ended up doing it. And there happened to be a guy in the audience there that night. Just by chance, he wasn't there to see me. He was just having dinner, and he stuck around for my show, and we chatted afterwards, and he was very complimentary. And he's like, I really just kind of blown away by your performance. And he's like, I really want to help you any way I can. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. I thought he was just being nice, but he gave me his email, and we started connecting. And basically, the only reason why that first EP happened is because he gave me a very small nugget to fund it. Yeah, I mean, it was a very 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 low overhead. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
spent maybe $4,000 on the whole thing. You know what I mean? Which at the time felt like a lot of money. Um, but yeah, he's the only reason why that happened. That very generous gentleman. So yeah, I can thank him for that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, how long did that take to make for you? Did you have a lot of songs prepared going in, or did you kind of write in the studio? What
I
is?
did. I did. I had a lot of songs, but like you kind of feel like I still feel this way, but especially then, you're going into a studio, it's very intimidating. You don't know you don't, I had no idea what to expect or what to do or how to behave or the process. Um, I worked with my now friends. They're great, two great producers, and they run a great studio in Brooklyn, Hyper Ballad, Rob and John, JB. Um, and they really kind of held my hand through the process. You know what I mean? And I had a lot of songs. We whittled it down. We had a lot of multiple different takes for a lot of those songs on that EP, a lot of different sounds, and we kind of whittled it down. I was very adamant about wanting it to sound like a true like a 78 record. Just
Yeah.
kind of gritty and kind of nasty sounding a little bit, not and we had a really cool process with that, which is like, when we got to the mixing stage, we basically had all the tracks. We recorded everything into I want to say Pro Tools, and then we took all those like individual tracks and we ran them through a lathe, which is like, something you would cut a vinyl record on. And so we cut each individual track into a record and then recorded that record and remixed it back into the box, which is why it kind of has that weird sound that it does, which I think is pretty unique. I don't know if it holds up over time, but at the time I thought it was really cool.
Hey, it's a unique way to go about it for sure, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so, did that EP allow you to kind of start touring? Like, what happened
Yeah,
after that EP?
a little bit. I had like one attempted manager around that time that we didn't really get along, I guess. And I did some small tours, but like any small independent artist, for many years after that point, I kind of went at it my own. A lot of cold emails, just like, oh boy, it's heartbreaking. It's backbreaking work. Just like constantly just putting yourself out there, hoping that someone pays attention. And yeah, I mean, I was like that for probably 7 years after that point. And so you try to tour, you try to make the connections, you try to network. Some people are better at it than others. Uh, but yeah, slowly kind of grew it up. And what really actually kind of kicked me out the door, so to speak, I guess, is that I was lucky enough to basically come across a licensing company, and they licensed one of my songs for a TV show, and that sort of gave me the nest egg to invest in myself a little bit more and have a little more confidence, and they put me in touch with a producer, and we started recording Dark Was the Yearling, and kind of just continually slowly but surely built it off that. Yeah, yeah.
Was that the song that was in Daredevil, or a different? Was this a different show?
That is a very good question. I should know the answer to this. I don't know.
I
I don't
stopped
know.
you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. So like Sing Sing definitely was licensed. I don't remember if it was around that time or if it was picked up later. You know, um, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Sing Sing. So, because that wasn't Daredevil. I think that was also in Suits, and it might have been in some other things as well.
Yeah.
Are you looking it up?
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to see if I can find it because I saw that come up, and I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, was that pretty? You know, a pretty good feeling, like when you could kind of
Oh my
see
God.
your music out there in the wild.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. I actually don't watch a lot of TV, um, at all, really. But these sometimes you get lucky. You can never count on it, but like it's always a windfall because you're just surprised when it actually happens. And um, the fact that these television shows, these producers, these music supervisors find your music and feel like it's a good fit for their projects, and so it's always a huge compliment, and it still blows my mind. Like my aunt, my uncle, my dad, they'll anytime something comes on TV that has my music in there, they still record it and like send it my way or whatever it might be. It's great. I love it to death. Yeah, it's real cool. Yeah.
It's the Heat. The Heat was in there.
Oh
Daredevil.
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That makes sense.
I don't blame you because you don't watch it, but yeah, that was a good show, and it's cool to be a
Well,
part
I
of. So.
well I should one of these times when I'm home from tour and I need something to binge. Maybe I'll put it on.
Put it on. Yeah. Well, if you don't watch it, I'll tell you, I'm not a big Marvel fan, like or not even just Marvel, but just superhero. I feel like they pump millions and hundreds of millions of dollars into something, but forget the script attached to that sometimes. Like it needs
Yeah.
this. Like where's the story? Where's the heart? It's missing, and
Yeah.
I don't need $100 million. I just need a good story. And
Yeah.
but the Netflix shows that they did could actually focus more on the characters and without all, I mean, it has some zing and zang and everything, but
Yeah.
without
Yeah. Of course.
overdoing it. It felt like so. I enjoyed those when those were. I mean, that was probably 7 years ago, 7, 10 years ago at this point now, right? But
Isn't that terrifying? I know. It's crazy.
it just
Yeah.
flies. Time
Yeah.
flies. But
Yeah.
no, that's pretty cool. You have well, I want to ask you about a couple of tours. You toured with the Wallflowers.
I did a show with the
Yes, you
Wallflowers.
did a show with
Yeah.
the Wallflowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that show?
It was great. It was kind of in my backyard, so to speak. It was down at the Bearsville Theater, which is just right outside Woodstock. And I had seen, which it's funny because it was the first time I was back in that theater in probably like 15 years. I saw a great show there many years ago. Um, and it's such a great space. They're a great crew, and the Wallflowers were great. They're always, yeah. The I didn't get to meet Jacob, but the backing band was awesome. Yeah, yeah,
There you go. And G Love, did you play a show with him or you
yeah. I
toured?
did tour. I did tour with G. Uh, that was like my first sort of like large support slot. You know what I mean? Um, that was great. It was great. They're such road dogs. They put on an incredible show and are so hardworking that
Yeah.
it definitely inspires you and kind of like lets you kind of as a young musician kind of get to see behind the curtain, so to speak, and see all the hard work and the crew that holds it all together. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. He's cool. I've interviewed him, I think, a couple times over the years, and he puts on a good show
Yeah,
also. Uh,
he does.
uh,
He does.
a lot of fun. And while we're talking about tour, you have a tour overseas coming up next month. Tell
Yeah.
me, tell me about that. You're hitting a lot of places, and what is that like? How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, so this will be the second time this year I'll be over in Europe. It's always a lot of fun. It's like the show, from, I'm in Netherlands and Luxembourg and Germany and the UK and I think that's all I'm hitting this time around. But you know, multiple cities in each of those countries, and um, it's an incredible amount of fun. It's it is logistically it is always kind of nerve-wracking coming from over here because there's no boots on the ground, so to speak, and you're kind of flying blind until you're kind of stuck in a car driving around, you know, trying to interpret signs and hoping you don't get a ticket and hoping customs doesn't harass you too much and you know there's so many things that can go wrong and have gone wrong actually.
Making sure you drive
But
on the right side of the road, yeah, or
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that was I remember not this last time, but I had a show in London and I had this tour started in Berlin. So I rented a car in Berlin. It was a stick shift, which you know I can drive, but it had been a minute. And by the time we got to the London gig, we took the tunnel across, so the car came over with us, and we just kind of like it was wild because just driving on the opposite side of the road, but oriented in the car that I was used to because the steering wheel's on the left side, and I'm we made it through safely, happily, without incident. I did get a ticket, but beyond that, uh, it was a success for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Like to drive fast even overseas, huh?
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was it was like a congestion charge. Because I think
Congestion,
the
what's
car
that? I don't know.
it's like, you know, London has all these rules about where you can go with cars in the city. And as a tourist or foreigner, whatever you want to call it, I had no idea about these rules. And so they had ticketed the car with a camera because I was in a part of the city that either I wasn't supposed to be in, or you have to pay a fine to be there, or whatever it might be, or like get a tax to be there, a toll. But what the kicker was is that I don't know if you ever rented a car overseas or not, but you know these things when you get a ticket, you're not personally notified. They notify the rental agency, and so I had gotten back from tour in like 3.5 months had gone by, and and I didn't know about the ticket, and so they finally the rental agency got in touch with me because London or whatever the authorities were trying to get their money, and because so much time had gone by, the ticket ended up being over like $550 for something that would have been like maybe $80 or something like that, just because of the time. And God, it was yeah, it hurt.
You paid it. You didn't fight it or anything. You didn't, yeah.
Well, I did fight it, and I was surprised because they were somewhat responsive. I wrote an email basically to you know whatever the UK authority was that monitors this thing. I was like, hey, I'm I had no idea. I just got this ticket today. It's overdue by 90 days. Is there a halfway point somewhere in this conversation that we can meet? And they did take I think like $150 off the ticket, but still, you know, it's
Yeah.
still
Sure.
was a hefty fine regardless. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful of that next time, I guess. Huh? Watch where you're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. There won't be a next time. There won't be a next time.
Not doing it. Not doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the new album, yeah, Slow Lightning, it's your first album in 5 years. Tell me about pulling this album together. I heard that you wrote that you felt very lost at the time when you were writing the songs. Tell me about that.
Yeah. You know, so it's the first full length in 5 years. You know, I had put out in the interim, there's been a couple of EPs that have come out, um, which I really, really loved actually, which is nice to say. And so those EPs that came out felt very natural and very quick and easy, I guess is a good word for it. And so I had hoped that writing this next full length, you know, was going to be a very similar situation experience for me. And it just never like you can't turn creativity on. I can't, you know, I don't think. I mean, I'm envious of people that can say like I'm going to go upstairs and write a song, you know. So each of these songs really took a lot of effort, a lot of drafts, a lot of I mean hours playing the same melody over and over and over again until something clicked. So it was a very kind of long process in that sense, I guess. And I think I'm sure everybody approaches records differently, but what I normally do, or what I've been trying to do, is kind of like I'll either write a song, or I'll write sort of like a manifesto. Like I'll write like 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs about what I think the record's going to be about, the mood that I wanted to convey, like the aesthetics, the visuals, everything informs where I want the record to go. And for some reason, this one just really kept kind of morphing on me behind my back, and so I kept having to go back and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite, and it's just a long process. Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you find yourself getting exhausted with that and kind of like needing to step away and take a break from it, or does that help you push forward more?
I'm a bit of a masochist, and so like I think the more pushback I get from something, I figure I just got to push harder. You know what I mean? I just got to keep going, and so that's usually my MO. Uh, my wife was so exhausted by my the repetition of hearing these songs over and over and over again, and like, so I think she had enough of it by the time I was done with it. But yeah, it was tough for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't helped me on the album, and I liked this line from it. Love is the type of thing that'll keep you warm. That's what she said as she was burning down my home. Uh,
Yeah.
where did that come from?
So that is actually on "Love Is a Sickness," I think is the name of that song. But I just kind of love that idea of that was actually one of the last songs I wrote for the record. I wrote that in the studio, because I felt like sonically, the record was just kind of missing that sort of quieter tone. And that line in particular, I just, you know, I'm sure everybody has their own experiences with love, but it is, man, there's a lot of highs and lows, and like the best part about it can also be the worst part about it. And so I think that line about like, it is the kind of thing that will keep you warm, and it's usually because it's kind of like destroying you at the same time. It's burning down your home. You know what I mean? And that, I think that's the sort of the idea and the sentiment behind the song.
Yeah, for sure. Do you after you finish the album, do you take a break, or do you have songs ready? Do you think ahead to kind of the next album? When do you start? What does that process look like?
It is uh each time it's different. I'm in the moment I feel really good. I'm kind of in this kind of create this pocket, which is great. I'm writing a lot right now, and I probably have 10 or 11 songs done, which is very atypical of me. So I'm actually excited to get back into the studio as soon as I stop touring, so I can do it all over again. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That you're not burnt out by it. You're not yeah, you're not like, okay,
But,
I
but
need a
the,
break
tour-
or anything.
the touring is what burns you out, I think. But like the songwriting is what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have to be home to write a good song, or do you find moments on the road to get there as well?
I don't. I'm very envious when I hear stories of musicians writing songs on the road, but I just, um the way my days are structured, and the amount of things that are on my plate, it's very hard for me to find time to actually get into a mindset where I can write. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the road is a busy, grueling place, right? I mean,
It is.
don't
It
slow
is.
you don't
It is.
slow down. You're on it forever. You get into the venue, like you said, you don't have time to sightsee. You're like, oh, it'd be great to check. Oh no, okay, we don't really have time. We'll drive by it maybe, but got to do the sound check. Got to eat. Got to get ready for the show. Yeah, it's tough.
Totally.
Yeah. And so as we kind of wind out, I wanted to hear a little bit more about you have a like 130-year-old farmhouse, right? So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. 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 Very drafty. There's probably not a straight wall in the entire place. Everything's kind of bending and warped, and it's great. It's got a lot of charm. It is a constant source of work, though. Things always need to be fixed.
yeah, yeah, it keeps you busy, and you enjoy that sort of thing, fixing it up, making it
Oh,
your own.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's probably too much. I find myself It's like it's very like it's nice to have like it's a type of like productive procrastination, where
Yeah.
like I get home from tour and instead of working on a song, I have to rewire something or we're demoing, taking out a wall, and I gotta just put new you just everything always breaks. And we mainly heat the house with wood. Um, in winters, we're up in the Catskills, probably as you know, and
Mhm.
um, it is there are long cold winters, and so I mean winter is always in the back of your mind, even when the weather is beautiful. So I'm constantly splitting wood, chopping wood, loading wood, um, just all times of the year. It doesn't stop. So there's always that to do, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kids in the future?
I don't know. I don't know. It's like one of those things. We it, if it happens, it'll be great. If
Yeah,
not, that's
yeah,
okay
yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
They keep you a different kind of busy, I'll tell you that. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I think I would probably have to make a few lifestyle changes for sure. Yeah,
a couple, a couple. Okay, so
a couple.
last question, I'll let you go. When was the last time have you toured out on the West Coast and maybe Northern California? And do you have any memories of those shows?
It's been a minute since I've been to like the northern portion of the West Coast. Too long, honestly. So we're putting together something right now that will probably put me out there next spring, I hope. Um, I don't have exact dates yet, but I'm hoping that comes through. We're trying to piece that together and plot it out. Um, but I do get to Southern Cal probably once a year at least. But as far as like getting, San Francisco and points north, it's been too long. And I love playing up there. It's such a beautiful part of the country, and Seattle, Portland, Eugene, Medford, and anywhere around the Bay Area. It's always a lot of fun for sure. And I try to think of anything like particular that comes to mind, but no, nothing. Like it's great shows usually in the Bay Area. Like I've played at Mill Valley and then down like
Mhm.
at there used to be a venue called Hotel Utah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, that we did a couple nights there around 2018. Two sold out shows, which were beautiful and a lot of fun. And yeah, just like there's a lot of characters. It's just a different vibe. I love it out there.
yeah. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of places to play for sure. So.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, Yeah. Well, Jonathan, I want to thank you for taking the time and
Of course,
congratulations
man.
on the new album and the
Thank
tour
you.
coming up. I know that's going to be huge and keep that chin up as you're driving. Uh,
Thanks, man.
uh,
I appreciate it.
keep focused. So, yeah, you have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for everything.
All right. Thank you. That was my interview with the Bones of J.R. Jones here on Concert Pipeline, and that takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. Okay, we have a handful of stories to wind us out today. The first is Aaron Carter's family is going to sue doctors and pharmacies over his death. A new lawsuit alleges that doctors and pharmacists were partly responsible for the musician's death. Um, he was found unresponsive at his house in Lancaster, California last November. So I guess we're coming up on a year now since this happened, and was subsequently pronounced dead after paramedics reached the scene. He was 34 years old and the younger brother of Backstreet Boys musician Nick Carter, but he had his own career as well. And now a wrongful death suit, which has been obtained by TMZ, has been filed on behalf of the Carter family, alleging that doctors and pharmacists were partly responsible. That they claim that the Walgreens pharmacy should not have prescribed opioids to Carter given his medical history. It goes on to allege that incorrectly prescribing and dispensing medications that affected Carter's judgment and mental health contributed to his death. The doctors in Walgreens have not responded to his claims. Um, so hopefully that is able to give his family some closure. Taylor Swift's 1989 Taylor's version breaks two Spotify records. The re-recording of 1989 has beat Swift on her own Midnights for the most streamed album in a day. People love her 1989 album, and I mean, this is the fourth album in a series of re-recordings. She's re-recording all her own shit to give herself control over it, right? And it's an ongoing dispute between her and Scooter Braun, the former owner of her previous label, Big Machine Records. And since it was released, she broke two new records. I guess the Spotify said she's done it again. She was the most streamed artist in a single day in Spotify history, and that version became Spotify's most streamed album in a single day in 2023 so far. Uh, she's everybody listens to Taylor Swift. Everybody loves Taylor Swift. What's not to love, right? I don't know. I don't understand it. It's not for me. But if everybody else loves it, then I got to be missing something, right? So she's. I mean, I think you're just hearing different versions of the same songs, right? But it was also recently reported that Taylor Swift has officially become a billionaire thanks to her re-recordings, her Eras tour, which is the most lucrative tour in history. She's now worth $1.1 billion. And there's also rumors of her appearing in the upcoming Deadpool 3 movie after she was spotted with the film's director, Sean Levy. It's alleged that she may star as musical mutant Dazzler. And the director previously said of the rumors, they sure are loud. I'm going across the board, no comment, because he didn't want to address it. But he's telling people to wait and see. So not addressing anything. All right. Lizzo has asked the judge to dismiss fabricated sob story against her. Lizzo's team alleged that the dancers in question had shown a pattern of gross misconduct. And in August, it emerged that three former backup dancers for the singer had sued her for creating a hostile work environment and engaging in sexual harassment, among other allegations. These incidents allegedly took place between 2021 and 2023. And Rolling Stone now reports that Lizzo and her representatives are pushing back on that. The finding states plaintiffs missed flights, arrived late and hungover to rehearsals, and drunk to performances, entered into consensual sexual relationships with male crew members on tour, exhibited a rapid decline in the quality of their dancing and professionalism, and ultimately conspired to make and disseminate an unauthorized recording of a creative meeting with Lizzo and the dance cast. So they're asking the court to dismiss the lawsuit, and no word yet, I think, on what's happened with that particular lawsuit. Okay, M&M is now selling jars of Mom's spaghetti. The product is made at M&M's own restaurant in Detroit. And he has I didn't know he had a restaurant, actually. That's cool. In 2021, he announced he was opening the Mom's Spaghetti Diner in his home city following a series of successful pop-ups in 2017 and 18. The establishment serves a range of dishes centered around pasta and meatballs, with the most popular being the titular spaghetti sauce. And now people across the U.S. will be able to order 25-ounce jars online. You can buy those, and actually, it is already listed as sold out. How much spaghetti sauce can you make, right? Like with the recipe. I didn't know it was going to be popular. These jars of spaghetti sauce went for $13 each, or $25 for a 2-pack. And I mean, man, it just looks like spaghetti sauce. It doesn't even have his picture on the label from what I'm looking at. But you can go to momspaghetti.com, and I don't know, maybe they'll list more in the future, but some people are going to get some of Eminem's Mom's Spaghetti Sauce. That's where we're at right now. The name is inspired from a lyric in the 2002 song, which featured in the film 8 Mile. And his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's Spaghetti. Okay. So we opened a restaurant based on that, and sold successfully, apparently, a line of spaghetti sauce. Cool. Good work, Eminem. I like it. Speaking of food, Blink-182 just played a show at Denny's. It was a one-song performance, and it went down at the Long Beach branch of the diner. They threw a surprise show at the unlikeliest of locations this week. There's footage of it. It might not match up to the arenas the bands are used to, but it was in fact, a reference to the well-known meme of the Houston metalcore band Live Without playing the same restaurant. What the fuck is up, Denny's? Mark Hoppus shouted, quoting the Live Without frontman. The footage shows a pretty packed room, jumping, throwing limbs, and screaming along to the band's performance. They played Anthem Part 3, a song from their new album, One More Time. Of course, a good opportunity for promotion, which was released on October 20th. It's the first album the band have made since Song the Longer rejoined last year. So they're doing fun things, I guess. If you were one of the lucky ones to get to see him perform at Denny's, congratulations. Iron Maiden have announced a 2024 North American tour, and it's their Future Past tour. It's coming in autumn. Let's see, they're playing a bunch of places. They're going to play Aftershock Festival on October 12th. That's in Sacramento, and a bunch of shows in October and November as well. So you can check out Iron Maiden late next year. All right, and last story of the day is Foo Fighters playing SNL this past weekend, and there's clips of the band coming out in the Wizard of Oz costumes, and like all individually, like just in a promo clip, not even for the set. I haven't seen the performance yet for the set, but of course, Dave Grohl is going to be that last one, and you knew it was going to be Dorothy, and he was brilliant, and he was holding a doll Toto. It was pretty great. But they've played the Saturday Night Live 9 times, but it's their 2003 appearance 20 years ago with host Christopher Walken. It holds a special spot in Dave Grohl's mind. And he said Christopher Walken was the host. He asked us if the accent was on Foo or Fighters. He said in an interview, wanting to play into Walken's famous dialect, Grohl incorrectly told him that the emphasis was actually on the second word. The resulting pronunciation was a perfectly Walkenism, Foo Fighters. And so 20 years later, the Foo Fighters are back on SNL this weekend as musical guests. Walken returned to Studio 8H to once again introduce the band, this time redeeming himself by putting the emphasis on the correct part of the band's name. Ladies and gentlemen, Foo Fighters. He announced in his second appearance of the night after playing the Spirit of Halloween in the cold open. So I love it. And it came full circle. They got Walken in to come back to introduce him. Dave Grohl, I tell you, he just always does it right. And I love it. All right. That is our show for today. So thank you for tuning in. It's duck hunting season now, as I've mentioned a couple of times, and that keeps me pretty busy. I'm also going to be traveling to Austin for a week in 2 weeks, and that's going to keep me busy as well. I'm not sure what interviews I might have coming up if I'm doing anything. I'm not booking anything right now. I'm trying to keep it thin, so I'm not overcommitting myself to everything I have to do. So it might be a couple weeks or a month or 2 months even possibly before we have another episode of Concert Pipeline. But I like to take my time during duck hunting season, which is late October to the end of January. And if we get into holidays, and that keeps me busy too. And bands don't play a lot of shows during that time. So we'll see. I'll drop a new episode when it feels right, and when I can get around to it. But I might not put pressure to it. Could have one next week. You just never know. But I don't want to overcommit. So that's our show. All right. Thank you for tuning in. And for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.